What's up, guys? Welcome back to the podcast after a brief lapse. Today we have Trainer Lewis and Rumham on. How you guys doing?
Good, man. How you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. And then, I guess, Naders, you can go ahead and kick it off since I can't talk very well.
Can't you talk? Well, let's talk about that.
Let's start with that.
I don't know. My hand is burnt and I'm sick for some reason. So.
Are you sick of your hand being burnt?
I guess.
That too.
At least it doesn't hurt as much.
Let's kick it off with actually, let's kick it off. We haven't talked about Flying Machine, I think, since Flying Machine came out. What are your guys' first impressions of Flying Machine in challenges, ladder, 2v2?
So I've been playing a lot of Flying Machine in the last couple of days. Just after Thursday, I wanted to sort of take a break from competitive and kind of have fun with the game. So I started building a couple of fun decks. And even though I managed to get a few 12s with the Flying Machine, it seemed unnecessarily hard to run those decks. I don't think it's particularly a good card. I think the biggest downfall of it is the fact that it doesn't one-shot goblins.
Yeah.
So Goblin Gang, for example, is an incredible counter to the Flying Machine.
Yeah.
And I don't like that very much. The hit rate isn't as fast as a Dark Goblin, right? It's not.
It's slower. It's slower,
yeah.
But more damage
So
per attack.
it's a more expensive, clunkier Dark Goblin, and I don't like the fact that it dies to Fireball. It's not very good. It's more of those. It's a fun card to use, but I would never use it to win a match if I had to.
I expected Flying Machine to be pretty bad. Of the 4 cards that were the ones that we sort of knew about all at once, I thought it was going to be the worst simply because of dying to Fireball and Poison. I thought, what beatdown deck was ever going to want this thing that died to Fireball and Poison? But in practice, it's actually been pretty useful in Lava Hound decks, uniquely, because it serves a purpose that most other flying units can't fulfill, in that it is a long-range attacker that can cover both lanes at the same time. Lava Hound is sort of desperate for things that can defend the opposite lane from your Lava Hound, because you're going to drop Lava Hound and they're going to come in and try to punish you. And Flying Machine actually is pretty good at being played right in the middle, guarding the other lane with the long-ranged attacks, and if they do have a spell, they kind of have to go out of their way or angle it pretty well if they want to hit the same tower that they're attacking. We've seen Flying Machine in a lot of Lava Hound decks across all of the broadcast regions, Latin America, Europe, and North America, and it's won games in almost every week in every region. So it's I think it's definitely a competitively viable, playable card, but in terms of being used in a lot of decks, not so much. It really just seems to be Lava Hound and maybe the oddball giant golem deck.
Yeah.
There.
It's actually pretty good in. It's actually pretty good in Golem too. I've been using it a lot.
I was going to say, I don't play Golem, but I have seen it in some Golem decks that seem to work pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, its big advantage is that it's long enough range that you don't have to play it anywhere within the spell range of another of your tank. So a lot of times, they're going to dump everything on your tank or put spells or poison or lightning or whatever on your tank. So you just don't want the sort of newbie pushes of Giant and Mini P.E.K.K.A. and Musketeer never actually work, right? Because the spells just blow them out of the water. But you can put Flying Machine so off to the side, and it still supports the push while being outside the spell range, that a lot of those tornado-y sort of decks can't use their one spell to take care of you.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's usable, but not overwhelmingly strong. I don't know, it's kind of mediocre. It works in Golem.
Yeah.
Pretty much 2 tank decks. It works in Golem, the one I think it has Furnace or something in it, and Poison, and then it works in Lava Loon. And I think it's good against certain types of decks. It's good against Spellbait, because Spellbait doesn't really have a way to take it out. Goblin Gang can distract it, but it doesn't counter it if it's behind a tank. That's why it doesn't work in minor decks, because it's easily countered, but if it's supporting a tank push, there's no easy way to just kind of get rid of it. So yeah, I think it works against some decks in the meta. I don't think it's overwhelming, but it's okay behind a tank.
You know where I think it really shines is in draft and draft royale format. I mean, in the Flying Machine Draft Challenge, I found myself taking it like a decent amount, depending on what the other option was. But in a format where spells are not a given, like where every deck doesn't necessarily have 2 spells, if you're playing like, you know, the pick pass draft format or whatever, it doesn't really have the same drawback. So you can tank it. You can just put it right behind a giant or whatever, and they're not going to have fireball or poison to easily take care of it. And it has a pretty good upside for a card. Like some cards, you know, like goblins and stuff, don't have a real high upside. Like they're good at defending, they can't be zapped off the board, but you very rarely have games where like a squad of goblins kills like 8 elixir worth of troops. But there's a lot of situations where Flying Machine just kind of goes off and it's like sitting in the middle of the board, stuff keeps coming down on either side, they don't have a way to get rid of it, and it's just sitting in the middle like a patrol drone, just shooting things on both sides and racking up value. That seems like a card that at least it's worth keeping your eye on, because if there's more cards or decks that can really exploit that upside, it'll be a key addition. But also because it's just a rare, maybe over-leveled Flying Machines are something worth investing in on the ladder.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Especially if it's like a.
I would actually love to see like a hit speed increase in that. I think that would do it for me. Because now,
if it was slower and killed goblins, that'd be cool too. I mean, that's a good point.
Yeah, either way, I think. Yeah, I feel like it just has crappier interactions than Dart Goblin, because Dart Goblin is like fast shots. It'll take out goblins pretty well because it shoots so fast, even though it takes 2 shots. But Flying Machine takes like an awkwardly long amount of time to shoot, so it's really good. I mean, it succeeds at killing like mid health units. It's not very good at killing low HP units. And it's not good at killing high HP units, so it's good against like musketeers and Electro wizards and Inferno towers and stuff like that. But if they don't have those units, it can feel useless at times. So it just really it's really situational, and in this game, situational often means not used. So
it feels real good and this is a offshoot of the 2v2. It feels real good in touchdown.
Anything that has long range feels really good in touchdown. Yeah.
What are you guys' thoughts on Cannon Cart? I'm actually starting to really like it. I think it's a super fun card to use, and it actually has its good like. I think, for example, like when I'm playing Logbait, and if I have Cannon Cart in my deck, I'll usually be able to like win those matches because it takes out the Goblin game completely. It takes out if you put like a Night Spirit on the back Goblin and then the Cannon Cart on one of the 2 top Goblins, it gets rid of the barrel. I think it's actually a pretty solid card right now. So it's a great tank.
And just to recap for people who don't remember, the change was Cannon Cart got a 5% hit point boost and a 5% shield hit point boost.
Which is super noticeable.
Yeah.
Like going in with graveyard Cannon Cart.
It just survives.
The Cannon Cart, it survived. And here's the thing, you gotta deal with it right away. Because if you don't, drop that's the thing I like the most about it, is like, if your opponent has, let's say, only 1 swarm unit in hand to deal with the graveyard, and you're tanking with the Cannon Cart, they have to make a decision of whether they're going to like swarm the Cannon Cart or swarm the graveyard, but they can't do both, or else they're gonna take a lot of damage. Which is pretty cool. And oftentimes, when they make the mistake of choosing the Cannon Cart, it just takes down the goblins. Like, let's say you drop a goblin game on top of it, it'll likely survive it. So I'm really liking the Cannon Cart and graveyard decks.
Do you wish that the first half of a Cannon Cart was a building? Because that's like the most awkward part of the card to me, is that it's only half the time a building. But I don't play a lot of Cannon Cart.
You just have to use it as a counter pushing unit. You have to defend first and then counter push. I don't know.
Sometimes I'll suicided. So like
to pull like a tank. Yeah, I do that sometimes.
Yeah. And like the cool thing about it is that people don't expect their card to like just like randomly go back. So like it gives you like an extra like second to build up 1 elixir or whatever, and like it throws off.
Yeah, it's actually really good against giant Sparky pushes because you can use it, put it kind of high, and it'll do a bunch of damage to the giant, and then the Sparky will kill it, and then it's full HP and it pulls the giant, and then Sparky will waste a second shot on it right before it dies to the giant. And this whole time you can be killing the Sparky, so it's good against that push.
It's also significantly better against Mega Knight, because now
I was about to say that.
It counters the 1v1
and
easy.
the Mega Knight it takes 3 hits from a Mega Knight to break the shield, and then 2 more hits plus just like the natural depreciation over time will kill it. So 5 hits from a Mega Knight up from 3. It was 3 prior. That's like pretty huge difference. And if you place it right, both towers are shooting it.
Also, if you just use like Ice Golem plus Cannon Cart, that'll completely counter the Mega Knight, and then Cannon Cart will counter push with full HP. So it's really good.
So you mentioned graveyard decks. Do you see it kind of making a bigger impact in other decks? I guess it seems like it would fit naturally since it's kind of a counter push card in standard beatdown decks. Yeah.
I haven't used it.
I don't think it's very good in beatdown because
just because it's 5 elixir.
Yeah. It's not a.
And like if you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, no, I was just gonna say it's definitely not viable in Lava Hound or Golem. It's somewhat viable in Giant, I guess. So how you use it is you defend and then you instantly want to go on offense with it. It's similar to like decks that use Mega Knight or P.E.K.K.A. in that aspect. Toward then you want to go offensive. If you've ever defended with a Mega Knight, I don't think you've ever thought, I want to throw a Golem in front of that, or I want to throw a Giant in front of that. It's just too expensive, and you don't have the elixir to then support it adequately. And it's not like, I guess Night Witch is another card in those categories, and it's good behind like maybe like a Giant, but that's more so. I don't know, because it has air as well. It like swarms behind the tank, so there's like an added benefit of having a Giant. You're protecting these other units that are coming out. With Cannon Cart, the effectiveness isn't really. It's not better if it has a tank in front of it because it's meant to be a tank for something else.
Yeah, I mean, it has the health of a bowler. Actually, it might have more health than a bowler now.
Yeah.
With the 5%.
And the really cool thing is, if you do get it locked onto a tower, when it pops the shield, it stays locked on.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And people sometimes like they're still trying to get used to the mechanic of it, so sometimes they kind of ignore it, and it seriously tears through a tower. Like an unanswered 75% health Cannon Cart will do a
like half your tower's HP. Yeah. You
Yeah.
have to log it before
Why do you pair
burst as well.
Why is Graveyard the most popular win condition to go along with Cannon Cart, and do you think cards like Balloon or Goblin Barrel could be equally effective?
Do I think cards like Balloon and Goblin Barrel would be equally as effective as doing what? Tanking?
No, he just means like paired with another
Graveyard
win
is like,
condition.
it's like, Cannon Cart's cool, but the only Cannon Cart decks I've seen in tournaments or competitive level is Cannon Cart Graveyard. Now, what is like so great about Graveyard that makes it good with Cannon Cart? Or do you think it's a matter of time until we see Cannon Cart Balloon or Cannon Cart Goblin Barrel, some other way to deal with towers?
So my thing is like I can't see it. The reason why I like it so much in Graveyard decks is because it's so good at picking off like swarm units, and it's really good against
a multi-threat.
It's really good like defending and then turning into an attack. I couldn't defend with. I guess you could tank a balloon with it, but then that's the thing is like. I don't know. I guess it's a matter.
So you're saying there's a chance.
Okay, I'll say Goblin Barrel seems plausible. Miner's also plausible, but Balloon I'd say no, just because. So typically, it's one of two things. Either with Graveyard and Balloon decks, you either have something that's really cheap that can get a protective force for the Balloon quickly, like an Ice Golem or a Knight. And the same with Spellbait, you have Knight or Ice Golem to tank for the Goblin Barrel. The difference for it being is that's like a 10 elixir push if you're doing, or it's a big tank like Lava Hound for Balloon. The big difference being if you're going like Cannon Cart on defense and then Balloon, you just put 2 units that get just destroyed by any air unit. So it's like you don't have the elixir. Yeah, and you don't have the elixir to use a spell. So if they put
maybe Cannon Cart Skeleton Barrel.
Yeah, I mean that could be viable. And I also think Goblin Barrel doesn't sound super bad. The problem with it's like, what are you going to take out of Spellbait? Like, are you going to take out a Knight? Because then you can't just drop it at the bridge and go. Because Cannon Cart Goblin Barrel sounds awful. Like if they have log, that's going to be such a bad trade. Like every single time. And Spellbait's about having like really quick pushes. Maybe if you did like a not like traditional Spellbait, but something else to where maybe you like I don't know, take out the defensive tower and try to make it work somehow. I don't know, but then you lose.
Maybe in like
You lose
the
air
Hearing
defense.
is like Graveyard happens to be, you know, the most cost effective for what it's doing. The other units are too, because like every argument you just made about Balloon could technically go to Graveyard, but at least you made the point earlier, Trainer Luis, that like Graveyard forces them to decide front or back, and you'll get them one way or the other.
Well,
right? Like if they block the Graveyard, that's fine because the cannon.
Yeah, well, I
them,
mean, so
and
and then Graveyard, and the difference between Graveyard and Balloon is Balloon and Cannon Cart can be countered at the same time. Like if they go like Ice Golem, Minion Horde, not only is it going to kill the push, they're going to have like a massive counter push. I guess assuming it's the Balloon, but still. Or if they go like Mega Minion or something like that, that's going to murder that push, and then it's going to counter push. So I think that's why Balloon doesn't make as much sense. But Goblin Barrel seems kind of viable. Graveyard's just really good though.
You just need...
Before Graveyard got nerfed, Cannon Cart before its buff was actually starting to become a really popular deck. Cannon Cart Graveyard was already starting to become popular. And I kind of predicted when they buffed both of them that would be a thing, and it's very strong. Just because, it counter pushes, which Graveyard is always a counter push type deck, and then it's either counter push or it's like a quick push with like an Ice Golem and double elixir. But yeah, so now you have this double threat. It's the same as how Night Witch Graveyard decks used to work. If you only defended the Graveyard, you're going to lose your tower to Night Witch. And if you only defend Cannon Cart or whatever, you're going to lose your tower to Graveyard. So it just makes them overcommit, usually. And then you get like poison value.
You mentioned that it sort of fills a similar role to P.E.K.K.A. and Mega Knight in that it's a counter-pushing kind of unit.
Sort of.
Do you think it could fit into a deck that's sort of like the P.E.K.K.A. control decks, or is it just not powerful enough to serve that?
I have a minor control with Cannon Cart deck that works pretty well.
Yeah.
I would still rather have P.E.K.K.A. because sometimes they'll when they ban, like if they go, for example, playing Golem Bandit, when the Cannon Cart's locked onto the Golem and then they banded the Cannon Cart and it doesn't feel too strong. It doesn't have in the control part of it. It's like too fast for my liking in that specific deck. So I wouldn't think it's necessarily interchangeable. I think there is something to be said about the fact that you can go a little bit faster. So maybe if you adapt your play style and control and make it a little bit more aggressive because of the Cannon Cart, then there's something to be said there. But personally, even though it works and I can see it in specific matchups being better, I would prefer to have a
because it's not a tank itself. It's not a tank killer, and it doesn't target air. So it has its faults, and it makes sense in some compositions, but not a ton.
Poison was a thing that I noticed that it was struggling against too, because if they poison your Cannon Cart Knight and then they have some support on their tank, you'll probably lose your tower.
So
well, since we've already kind of been talking about it, let's talk about Graveyard. Maybe too briefly. Duration increased to 10 seconds from 9 seconds. The radius has decreased to 4 from 5. The first skeleton spawns a half second slower, and it's less random. The less randomness, it's somebody help me here. It's around the outside edge.
I haven't even noticed.
It's still random spawning, but it's along the edge. No, I'm sorry. No, actually, no. It's not random spawning. There are 16 skeletons that are hidden along the edge, and they come out one at a time. So it shouldn't come from the same spot twice, but it does kind of randomly come from the edge. But I think at least it's not it won't come from the same spot multiple times.
There's a set amount of patterns that it'll follow.
Yeah, or something like that. Yeah. It's not, I don't exactly know how.
16 is enough that it's still random.
I think it's perfect.
You can't predict 16 different iterations of a graveyard.
It's random. It's just on the outer edge.
Yeah.
Which though,
I think
you just move the graveyard.
Now though, because the from around the edge means that nearly all of the skeletons will have to at least walk for a second or two, giving the defending player a chance to react. Your archers can pick them off. Poison's actually effective against it now, much more than it was before. So I think it had the big problem with Graveyard before was that you could counter it, hard counter it, but still randomly take 600 damage.
It's better. It's better
now that it's consistent. I think it feels good though. It feels more powerful than it was post nerf, and not nearly as frustrating as it was before all the nerfs. So I don't know. I hope that Graveyard kind of remains a staple tier 1. I don't want to see it go the way of like Royal Giant or Elite Barbs or whatever. So I'm glad they're trying to find that middle ground.
It's an exciting win condition, and we need to. We say this almost every episode. We need to shout out Supercell when they make a really good change.
I think this was like a pretty good fix.
Yeah.
And what's interesting to me though is that the old Graveyard decks don't work as 1-to-1 as I thought they would. Like I immediately went back to my Splash Yard, like the classic like 8-card Splash Yard list with Bowler and Baby Dragon and stuff, and tried it, and it wasn't like as good as I thought it would be, mostly because my opponents were playing different cards where the Bowler and Baby Dragon didn't feel as useful, I guess, in hand as I thought they would be. But no, that's one of my most top 5 favorite decks in Clash Royale history. It's Splash Yards. I'm glad that like Graveyard is playable again.
Colton, do you think that the placement, like the correct Graveyard placement, is the same one as before?
No, I've seen people do it to where it's like on the bottom corner of the tower. I think it's probably the one I've been using is just like one more to the right, so that if they're spawning on the outside edge on the left side, they're spawning right next to the tower.
Define that for the viewers / me who don't understand.
So if you hold Graveyard directly on top of the crown tower, I just move it to two squares to the outside.
2 towards the outside.
That's what I've been doing. I think I've seen other people that do it one outside, one down. I'm not sure which one's better.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing. I've been doing one outside, one down.
Either way, the purpose is to have the left side, if they spawn along that side, they spawn next to the tower so they actually don't have to walk.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a bold statement here because I've said many times I don't mind a little bit of randomness, like controlled randomness in the game. And I think this change is really cool because they found a way to keep it random while making it less random, if that makes any sense. They made the radius smaller. They made them spawn in a more predictable way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. Just throwing that out there.
I mean, all you need is cool. The important thing is that there's counterplay. Like the frustrating thing was that you could counter Graveyard the exact same way 5 times in a row and get 5 different results, and that sucks. Like that's so much worse than the situation we have now. So I think it's a huge improvement.
That's the kind of randomness nobody wants. You know, if random means flipping a coin and taking 600 damage versus not taking any damage, then that's pretty terrible.
Yeah.
All right. Here's a big change. Sparky, hit speed to 4 seconds from 5 seconds. Damage down 15%. Thoughts? It seems to be maybe the biggest impact change so far in this.
You don't like it, Lewis?
In my opinion,
it's better.
I think. It's definitely better. But I think that the majority of the reason why it's being used right now is because people think it's better than it is. I don't think it's particularly amazing. I've seen some like crazy defenses being done by it, like some really good value. But like the core problem with Sparky that was there before, which is that it dies to rocket. It's easily resettable. I think it's still there. I don't think that's disappeared. So I think when you play, for example, log bait, you often find yourself.
It's super useless. Even if you have pump to bait rockets, it's so useless in log bait.
So because like if I'm playing a deck that has Sparky and pump, and I have like only one rocket that's playing spellbait, I'm okay with them with having to choose between pump and Sparky, because the odds are that my cycle is fast enough to where like I never really have to worry about not having the rocket back in my hand. And oftentimes the player will think, oh, his rocket's out of cycle, let me just start spamming things with in front of the Sparky, and then you just get gnarly value out of your rocket. So like I don't think it's necessarily the best card. I used to one time in CCGS against Ox, and I beat him because he was playing Graveyard. So I think it's really good against Graveyard because it's really hard to they usually don't have anything to reset it with or deal with it immediately. So if you predict that your opponent's gonna this is competition because obviously you can't use a grand challenge, but if you think your opponent's gonna use Graveyard, then running Sparky is now a lot more favorable than it was before.
I went 2-0.
I
went 2-0 with it in CCGS as well.
I think it's pretty good. I mean, the upside's out of control. The buff was pretty much it wasn't really like a give and take if you look at it, because even though the damage went from 1300 to 1100, aside from killing another Sparky, no interaction changed. Like there's just nothing in that gap of health. So things like Mini P.E.K.K.A. that died before still die. Things like Knight that survived before, like still survived.
Knight still survived before?
Yeah, Knight did 1300 and Knight had 1399.
Oh, really?
So Knight would survive with like a
because it seems like it survives
before.
with just a sliver now as well, but I guess not.
He survives with 200
Okay,
or whatever.
gotcha.
It's still pretty small. I mean, it's just a couple of goblin stabs.
Is it exactly the same DPS as before, or just very similar?
No, it's more DPS because the damage only went down by like 15%, but the hit speed went up by 25%. But like,
and now it actually
basically
connects,
no interaction change. Like everything still
20% versus 15. Yeah.
Well, anything that died before is still dying, right? So you basically just get the faster attack speed. The nice part is that there's really two safety valves. Sparky can never be that strong because Spellbait is like a super tier 1 S tier deck. So, and that has, a bunch of solutions to that card. So that's going to keep it in line. And Electro Wizard is just like still really good. Yeah, and like that'll always just keep it from being like a really, really strong option. But I love it as a fringe thing, right? Like, like that Bowler Rocket Furnace Mirror deck that just randomly people play it like really rarely, but they do play it. I hope Sparky settles into the metagame like that. It's like 2% of decks we see, but when you see it, it's always like a must-see game because the upside's crazy high. And like, Colton, didn't you win by like a Sparky that someone was trying to stop and then it did finally lock onto the tower and just blast the tower? Wasn't it Trainer Lewis?
No, it was Bernstein. I played Bernstein before that. I didn't play it against him.
It was Bernstein.
It didn't make sense.
Yeah, I think against me he played like I don't even remember. No, not Sparky.
Graveyard.
But either way, like that's exciting to watch. You know what I mean? Like there's that upside. Like every once in a while, you're gonna have a competitive game where Sparky blows away a tower in overtime for the win, and that's great. That's good.
So in a way, this is maybe the best way to change it because I think the main problem with Sparky was that it was so easy to counter with everything, and if you're taking that duration, the recharge duration, and dropping it, it just makes it a little harder for people to respond.
Josh actually just sent crap. His name's Josh. Crap actually just sent me a deck he got 12 wins with Sparky, Clone, Pump, and Golem, and he says it's apparently really good. I don't know. So maybe I don't know. He's a really good player though, so he could just.
Well, you can't trust. I don't trust pro player Grand Challenge decks unless in aggregate, because any one pro can 12 win with like a giant amount of crappy 8-card decks. So
that's a Trojan horse, Luis. He's throwing that out so one of you guys plays it in the next CCGS and gets.
Not for real though. I've gotten 12 wins with the deck before and thought it was great, and then practiced with my teammates and it was just terrible. Like.
Yeah,
it's just you can get.
I actually got 12 win yesterday with Lava Loon Graveyard.
Yeah, you can get 12 ones of just like the dumbest decks because it just depends on who you face and your matchups.
Let's jump ahead to maybe my favorite change, kind of a stealth really good change in this update. Tesla damage up 41%, hit speed to 1 second, up from 0.8 seconds. So the big difference is it one-shots minions and goblins now,
that's
which is
huge.
That's
a
huge
difference. I actually made my first YouTube video on Tesla bait. And this is, I think, Colton, you'd probably be able to do the exact same. I think now with Tesla log bait, I can get a 12 win pretty much on command. Yeah. Like, it's not even
define Tesla bait. Is it like the normal kind of log bait deck?
It's a normal log bait, but now instead of Ice Spirit, I have bats.
The bats are really good. Like Ice Spirit is useless a lot of times, but the bats, they give you so much extra. Like, I mean, half the time if you bait out Zap, like they'll counter like a balloon or something by themselves, or they just get a lot of value.
Tesla's nasty good. It's so good. It hard counters Hog. It absolutely hard counters Hog. Like if you play it right, it'll destroy Hog. It does really well against, like, my specific deck does really well against Lava Loon because it's 4 elixir. You can cycle. The cycle feels a little bit faster. Minions, if they have minions coming down, like for example, this is like I'm sure you guys have all faced an offensive combination of like counter push minion horde or minions and miner. Like if they drop a minion horde or miner against me, I just drop off the Tesla, and a lone Tesla without a tower help will take out a minion horde, like by itself, and still be standing. I think it's insane. And it destroys Expo and destroys Mortar if you guess it right.
Yeah. It might be even overbuffed. Like I could see.
It is.
I like that it one hits goblins and minions now, but I don't think in general you want amazing catch-all defensive towers, right? They just do everything. Yeah. So I could see them slowing the hit speed down even further to like 1.1 or 1.2, because it is great that it one hits goblins and minions. That makes it such a good answer to a lot of the swarm cards. But yeah, I don't know how much I want a Tesla just hard countering minion horde. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it hard counters minion horde. It absolutely blows Hog into like there's just I actually figured out that the only way to be somebody that's using Tesla with Hog is just to pretty much rocket cycle, because like you'll never get through the Tesla. It's insane, and I don't like that very much. I think that the Hog should be able to get one hit off, because it honestly feels like you're constantly just doing a neutral elixir trade, removing their win condition from the match, and then pretty much just have to break through.
Yeah, it's like
Hog gets countered by everything already.
How does Ice Golem Hog interact with it?
Usually what you have to so what I do with Ice Golem Hog is that I don't know the exact I think it's 4-3 the tile placement, and you deal with the Ice Golem quickly, and then usually since you're pulling fire for both towers, the Tesla has enough health and DPS to just shred the Hog. Like I don't ever have a problem with that. And usually what I'll do is like I'll wait, so like let's say the Ice Golem's coming down, I'll wait till the Hog comes over and is hitting the Tesla and it's in front of the Ice Golem, and I'll put down my bats, and it'll take the tower and the bats will take care of it. I don't know. There's too many ways to deal with it. Like, I personally, I saw a couple people on Twitter saying that Hog needed a nerf, and
I saw that too.
I didn't understand it. There was a lot of pros saying it, like really good players, and so like it made me sort of like, what am I? Like, am I just insane? But I personally think the Hog is like such a like.
I'll put it this way: in a good deck with Hog is not the problem. It's whatever anything else is the problem. Hog gets countered.
I agree. That's true. That's actually a really good point. In a good Hog deck, Hog wouldn't be the problem, because P.E.K.K.A hard counters it. You have Tesla, it pretty much hard counters it. You have Mega Knight, hard counters it. You have NATO, hard counters it.
Cards that nobody plays, like Barbarians, hard counter it. You know, it's
you have so many ways to deal with the Hog.
It's bad.
Where like I only see Hog being good against Three Musketeer, honestly. And and then Golem beatdown if you use like P.E.K.K.A Hog.
Well, moving from here on out, I mean, because a lot of we're really getting a much more balanced metagame than we had like a year ago. Mm-hmm. Every win condition is going to be viable in some form or another, right? Like we're at a point now where every single win condition has pretty much at least one viable deck. Even Royal Giant has some like fringe play. People use it in competitive to counter like Expo and stuff. So like, you know, some argue like we should nerf Hog because it's always been like a tier 1 or tier 2 deck in every metagame. It's like, well, that's going to be true of like every win condition from here on out. P.E.K.K.A, which was in the desert for a year, is now like going to be a fixture of competitive play forever.
To flip that around, if something has been a viable win condition for a year, that's probably a good thing, right? It's proving that you've got it balanced, because it's never been, at least in all of our opinions, overpowered. It's just viable, and it's constantly viable. And you want, in some respect, you want all win conditions to be viable in some deck or another, you know?
And I get why people get frustrated with it, because it's just the most efficient, fast attack on your tower for cheap elixir. Like, it's got a lot of health, it does a lot of damage, it moves fast, it only goes for your building. But it's the most extreme version of that Supercell can make. You're never going to see a better Hog Rider, you know, at a cost of 4. So
I feel like they need to do the way that they have. You've got a lot of slow moving big tanks. Why don't we have more kind of Hog Rider-y, fast, not super hit pointy tanks? You know what I mean? A three elixir Hog Rider.
Battle Ram was, I mean, Prince is that, and Battle Ram is that, and Bandit is that. So I think they've done a pretty good job. At the start you had just a few of this type of cards, and they quickly added Dark Prince, which it's not the same because it's not a building chaser, but
Yeah.
with Bandit kind of charging, Mega Knight kind of charging, Battle Ram especially going for buildings, and Battle Ram of course being the closest parallel. I think there's like a decent amount, but I would like to see more, and I think that's where Skeleton Barrel is going to be interesting because it's another balloon Hog Rider sort of skeleton army graveyards, like halfway in the middle of all those cards, and hopefully it can find a place in just some other deck that we can add to the 20 decks that are already viable.
Mm-hmm. Next change, Electro Wizard, damage down 4%. First attack comes 0.2 seconds slower. Says no major interaction changes. I like the change because I thought E-Wiz was overpowered. It's probably still, I don't know if it's OP anymore, but it's really good. It's still really good in my opinion. What do you guys think?
I haven't seen E-Wiz a ton lately. I don't know if it's just maybe the meta isn't. I don't know if it's a product of the meta or a product of the nerf, if that makes sense. Because the meta has changed in the last couple of days, so I don't want to say it's because the nerf made it unusable or whatever, but I don't know. I think I never thought that E-Wiz was a problem, rather than it was just super prevalent. And it was getting to the point where you couldn't have a deck without it, but not because it was overpowered, just because the mechanic was so favorable to have. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so that's what we call overpowered in game design terms.
Yeah, but
and versatile.
Yeah,
the versatility is a big deal too.
I think this 1% titanium tax didn't go too far enough. This was nothing changed, right? No major interactions changed. In terms of the slower attack, the only situation where that comes up is if you're dumping it on the head of minions or minion horde, where they start attacking it right away. If you're playing it back like a musketeer, it doesn't matter. It doesn't seem to change anything. I think it was overpowered before, and I think it's still overpowered and probably needs more of a nerf, specifically because in both grand challenges and ladder and competitive play, every format I can think of, and especially in the draft and touchdown formats where you have an option to pick A or B, you almost always go Electro Wizard. It's pushed archers, musketeer, wizard, witch, pretty much Ice Wizard even got recently buffed and is better and still doesn't see that much play. In all those situations, it's almost better just to pay the 4 and get an Electro Wizard than deal with anyone else.
Do you know what card I want to talk about, and I want your opinions on how we can make it more viable? Is the Wizard. I think that I want to see the Wizard in the meta, but there's no reason why I would run the Wizard over the Executioner. There's just no reason. It's the same mechanic. It's the same benefit of using it, and it's the same elixir cost but lower health, just a tiny bit faster hit speed.
I think it might be a combination of things, but mainly you use those for splash damage, right? But the Wizard is cranking out higher splash damage. But what do you really need that higher splash damage for? Mainly you're looking to defend against swarmy stuff, minion hordes and goblin gangs and et cetera, et cetera. So the Executioner is more than enough. Why trade the negative hit points for the positive DPS?
Colton, what do you think would be a way to fix it so it comes back?
I feel like you'd have to differentiate it from Executioner in some way. I almost feel like it would need a rework, a different mechanic. It's too similar to. Just giving it.
Maybe when it drops, it does a fireball.
Yeah, but see, that's too much like Electro Wiz at that point.
Yeah.
Look, you've got Bowler, Executioner, and Wizard all at the same 5 elixir. Why not change Wizard to 6 and give it a big hit point buff so it survives stuff, or knock it down to 4 and do something else to it?
I feel like it would be one of the cards that needs a remake.
The problem with it right now is that you can't, as it exists right now, you can't just drop it down to the same price as Musketeer because they have about the same damage, damage per hit. A single hit damage is really similar between Musketeer and Wizard just gets the splash damage for free at that point. So there's a problem with that. The problem with being 5 cost and dying to lightning means you will always suck no matter what, right? There's no, if Executioner died to lightning, you wouldn't play it. Right? It's not just plus hit points, it's survives poison, survives lightning, right? It's the inflection point over those cards that can counter it. what I'd like to see with Wizard is if it's supposed to be the putting out damage, heavy splash, whatever, I think they could do a little more to make it effective against like big swarms. So what if there was a thing where like when the Wizard attacks, it does the splash damage like normal. If it kills something, that thing explodes in like a secondary, like fireball explosion. Because then what happens is,
I'll be right back.
and it doesn't necessarily have to chain through stuff either. It could just be like an added extra explosion. Because what would be nice then is if I hit like one of the goblins of the goblin gang, it like exploded on the spear goblins who are already moving up behind it, instead of having to wait another 2 seconds to like fire another fireball.
Maybe it
The
does
problem
like
is that
5%
Wizard gets hung up on shit. Like still has to be like, oh, skeleton army here.
I mean,
Skeleton
the basic bitch version of that change is just make the radius bigger, right?
Yeah,
I
like
mean,
maybe
that's the
make his
simplified
radius
version.
so big and fat that him and Tornado becomes like a viable alternative to Executioner Tornado. Because I agree with you guys. Like he's worse with Tornado than Executioner is because the bar effect and the timing of the coming backwards is better than just a circle.
Mm-hmm.
The line effect. Like I almost wonder if the Supercell team values the line effect properly, because there's only 3 line effect cards, and they're some of the best cards in the game, right? Like Bowler, Executioner, and Log
Bowler, Executioner,
are like insane. And I wonder if you just go, like pricing it, you give Bowler the same like balancing stats as like a Wizard or a Musketeer, but the Rock is so much better than a single point damage or a splash effect.
I will just never understand why they made all 3 of those cards 5. Like, it seems like you already had sort of that niche filled. Why keep releasing cards? Obviously, they do slightly different stuff.
Bowler cost 6 originally, and he was fine in seeing tournament play when they changed him to 5. And I was like, I agree, it didn't make any sense. Because at 6, he was cool, and it was neat to, like, kind of like Sparky, like, I'd be willing to like spend a little more for a bigger, heaper.
Wait, so Bowler was 6, Electro?
Bowler was 6 when it came out. It had a lot more hit points, and
it was like 6. It was like 20% more. Like they did a straight nerf of like minus 17% cost, minus 17% hit points or whatever. It was like and damage. It was like they just took it straight down.
It was being run in a lot of giant decks, giant Bowler, right? Because you couldn't use Bowler kind of as a. It wouldn't have worked in Splash Yard, I don't think, at that heavy of a cost. I don't know. Maybe unless you had like Pump or something.
Yeah.
Let's get these last couple out of the way. We talked a little bit about lightning damage down 3%, radius to 3. I think this is a good change. The radius being so big was I don't know. It really really hurt certain decks where you had kind of the triangle defense or whatever, and you're putting a lot of mid-level health things down. That radius is, I think, a much bigger deal than the damage. It says no major interaction changes, though. So, what do you guys think?
I think there's huge interaction changes, in my opinion. Maybe, so let me rephrase that. There is definitely, now, for example, Logbait destroys Golem beatdown if I have Inferno Tower. Before, you could do Golem, Princess, Tower. Now you can't do that. So maybe I shouldn't say interaction changes, but it does definitely change like the value of the lightning, and like it definitely. I personally didn't like the nerf at all. I thought it was fine the way it was. I didn't think lightning was like an issue ever, especially because it can only hit 3 things and you can lightning block. So now it's like now I don't have to factor in the lightning, which is sort of unfortunate because I always liked the fact that the lightning forced people to learn different placement. It forced people to learn how to, I guess Fireball and Poison do the same thing, but the lightning forced you to like stagger troops and like figure out timing for lightning blocks. And there was a whole thing that the lightning, I thought made the game more competitive, more fun.
I feel like lightning's still super viable though. I mean, Golem lightning's still very strong. Like, I think the only deck that really it hurt, and I think this is a good change, was the Hog lightning decks that were just spamming Hog and Lightning over and over again and got through like Inferno Towers or buildings of any variety. It was hard to stop them because like anything you defended with could either get logged or lightninged away. Like there was no defense you could put up that wouldn't be value against 1 or 2 of those cards. And now you can actually put things like a really forward Inferno Tower and it pulls the Hog over that's out of lightning range. But for Golem decks, they're never going to play their Inferno Tower up that high because it plays into your Electro Wizard minions, all that kind of stuff. but it's still like there's nowhere they're going to place it where the lightning still isn't good. Like I don't know. As a golem player, I haven't really noticed the nerf that much, and it feels fine to me, and I still play golem lightning, and it's fine, right? But I think against hog lightning, it opens up more situations to play your Tesla or Inferno way up by the river, and it's not just an auto like hog lightning boom get through.
What do you think?
I think it does hurt golem too. I understand like the reasoning behind the hog, but I think it hurts golem because, like, give you the case of, I don't know, Electro. I don't know. Yeah, log bait easy. Like if you have Inferno, they're never gonna get. I mean, not necessarily log bait, but just any defensive building. They're never gonna hit more than one unit. They're only gonna hit your defensive building because now it's really easy just to space things away from it. Used to, you had to have a very particular spacing between like Inferno Tower and an Electro Whiz to not get them both hit. It was possible, but you had to be careful. And now it's just easy to avoid it. I don't know, so that still hurts golem. Like you can only ever hit one thing, unless your opponent's bad. But if they're good and they have a ranged unit that dies to lightning and they have a defense, you're never gonna hit both. Which I don't know, maybe that's a good thing, but I think it makes lightning bad.
It's a little harder to use it as just a pure spell cycle.
I would be
kind
interested
of thing
I would also be interested to see, like, if you play Musketeers in the middle now, I think it would actually kind of be a risk to try to lightning them.
Yeah, that's the other big winner from the changes. It's much harder to get split Musketeers.
That's funny. I wonder how long the window is there. Is it like second and a half,
very
2
small.
seconds?
Yeah. It's very tight.
Pretty quick.
But I think that's kind of a decent trade for me in my head because Mega Knight has really hurt Three Musketeers. Like Mega Knight is like another P.E.K.K.A. and arguably better than P.E.K.K.A. against Three Musketeers. And so I think they did, like, by taking that big hit with the addition of Mega Knight, I'm kind of fine with giving Three Musketeers like a little more flexibility against lightning.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Spear Goblins hit speed down to 1.1 seconds from 1.3. Again, no major interaction changes. But I think it was needed. Yeah. Spear Goblins weren't seeing a heck of a lot.
Yeah, I agree. I like the new Spear Goblins, and I think it, unfortunately, because I wanted log bait to just remain untalked about in conversations about nerfs, but unfortunately, the Spear Gob buff made log bait a lot stronger because now the Spear Gobs in the Goblin gang are getting even more value. Like now, the Goblin man you seriously have to respond to because it'll actually take a good amount of your talent.
I feel like Spear Goblins do so much more damage. The funny thing is it doesn't buff Goblin Hut really because they still only get one hit, just barely.
That's interesting.
I was happy. Goblin Hut would actually be broken if an uncontested Spear Goblin got 2 hits. That doubles its damage, its chip damage.
Yeah.
It would actually be more broken than like.
It's better against like tanks, like Lava Hound and stuff, because now the accumulated Spear Goblins build up a lot
for Goblin
faster.
Hunt though, so
but
it's like,
yeah, I wish though that instead of this change, they would have just gone from 3 goblins to 2 goblins, but increased Spear Goblins' damage so that they kill skeletons. Because Spear Goblins are the only troop in the game that don't kill skeletons now. Like now that Ice Wizard got buffed, and to me that's just like a clarity or consistency thing. Like if the other 75 cards kill skeletons in one hit, Spear Goblins should kill them in one hit. And I think that would just be like a more like 2 Spear Goblins at 75 damage per shot is the same DPS as 3 Spear Goblins with 50 per shot. It's just each shot makes more sense. It's going to kill the graveyard, and those 2 Spear Goblins or a Goblin gang would become a much more reasonable counter to graveyard. Yeah. Than like now where they're still just whatever 2 hitting skeletons.
I mean, they're still better just because. Well, I mean, it's really good now because they just do a bunch of chip damage. I've seen people experiment with Spear Goblins themselves, and it can do good damage, but I think it still sucks. Just because I don't know, it'll actually do a surprising amount of chip damage if like Spear Goblins get to a tower, but other than that, they're kind of useless because they don't really kill anything. So I think they just make Goblin Gang better, honestly.
They did. That was pretty much it. Because I don't know if like besides just like having fun with the game, I don't really know if I would ever put Spear Goblins in my deck. Like why would I just add the extra elixir and get 3 goblins out of it for graveyard.
I think we talked briefly about this one time, but that's kind of the problem when you introduce a card like Goblin Gang, because it functions on the same idea as Three Musketeers, where it's a discount of a smaller troop. You get a discount in the relative elixir price for playing this group of cards. There's no way now to separate, just like there's no way to separate a nerf or a buff of a musketeer from Three Musketeers. There's no way to separate that in Spear Goblins versus Goblin Gang.
Well, I feel like there could be if they just abandon the idea that they have to be like together, like they have to be nerfed together. Like if they just simply said, okay, the Musketeers in the 3M or whatever are going to be less health than the ones without it. Like I think
that's pretty stinky.
That's problematic though, because if you
that's bad for new players.
So you want your fireball to kill him. That was a bad example. You want your lightning to kill a musketeer. If some interaction changed depending on what musketeer it was, that would
in the future. I mean, they would have to release different troops, but for those that are already made, I mean, the way you do it is you take away a goblin or whatever, because they took away a spear goblin from Goblin Gang. Or if you're gonna change it, you just take.
I like how they nerfed Goblin Gang. I actually thought that was a great way to nerf it, because it's like Goblin Gang still feels good and useful at what it does, but that was a good way to like trim some DPS and distraction off it.
I think that's the only way you can really, apart from like Luis said, changing it. The only way you could really do it is messing with Goblin Gang's composition itself, because if you change the stats, then like you said, you're getting into that situation where you're accidentally nerfing or buffing the other card as well.
Yeah.
Last but not least, Valkyrie, damage up 5%. The big interaction changes, it one-shots princesses and dart gobs now, and barbarians, if anybody ever plays that card besides me anymore, dies in 3 attacks.
Nope, no one does.
No, nobody does.
I do like, I mean, I don't know if there's too much to say about this. I like that it kills princess and dart goblin one hit now. I mean, that felt weird, because it's just like a big, strong, heavy swinging troop, and then it didn't kill this frail little princess. Makes it slightly better, but I mean, a lot of these changes, especially like the Electro Wizard one and Valkyrie ones, are like, they're nice, but they're so little, they're not really going to move the needle on a lot of these cards.
Yeah. I think Valk, if she got a mini health buff, would probably be seeing a lot more play right now, alongside the damage, not alone.
In terms of her stats, she's almost exactly a knight. She just has this...
like scaled up. Like she has 20% more health, but for 20% more cost or whatever. So it's like you're not getting.
It's like
I don't think you get as much of a discount.
Mm-hmm.
The Valkyrie haven't
really
seen too much. I actually haven't really play tested it though at all, so it might be really
She's decent.
Good.
She's better against Three Musketeers, but other than that, it's kind of like whatever.
Is it? I'm sorry. Is it faster than?
No, 5% more damage.
Okay, yeah. So if it was faster, maybe, because then it would be really good against graveyard. So I could justify having it in there instead of the knight. But I don't know. I like the knight. I would prefer to have the knight for 3 elixir, because when they're going in, I don't know. You can pretty effectively defend 2 musketeers with a knight without using that extra elixir on the Valk.
Yeah, I think that would be a more interesting change, is changing the lowering the hit speed.
Yeah. I mean, she basically...
I would love to see that.
What, she has 1399, 144... she has, I mean, she basically has like 150 more HP than Knight, and that's the only difference. The DPS is almost the exact same. So, I don't know. It's like 1 elixir is a big deal. And there's only a handful of troops where her small AoE radius is actually useful. Graveyard's 1, and Knight's a good counter to Graveyard. So Graveyard's 1, and then the 2 Musketeers and the 3 Musketeers is like the only thing. Then Goblin Gang, I guess, but
she's not bad against barrel either.
I guess
the only problem is if you're throwing a barrel, where it doesn't counter that 3rd goblin. So if you've got a tank that's tanking for the barrel,
does it hit the 2? It does hit the 2. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't ever see her.
If you're directly on the tower,
I don't remember.
Yeah.
She's whatever. She's not that good.
All right, Rumham, how much time do you got?
I'm dying, so if we want to end early,
let's just do football and wrap it up.
Yeah, let's do. You want to do 10 minutes of football?
Yeah, and we can go over it. I mean, we don't have to wait. We didn't have to do that much, but whatever you guys think. I'm dying.
How about this? Let's just real quick. What do you think of Quest? What do you think of football, etc.?
I guess I spend all my time in a max account, so it's all irrelevant to me. But I can see why it would. I can see why it would really help like beginner players. The quest. I don't know. I haven't really. I will say this. What I really want to talk about is the shop, and how like I absolutely hate the new shop. I'm sitting on 500,000 gold, and I don't see that ever like going down. Like before, I could like wait till like Sunday and see if the princesses in my shop, and then drop 240k gold that I've been farming that week.
Yeah.
But now I'm sitting on 500,000 gold, and I don't know when I'm ever gonna upgrade it, because my plan was to max out log bait on my level 12 and then try to get like consistent top 200 to the level 12 account. But now I can't do that because my princess is like 3 out of 20, so I don't ever see myself maxing out the princess. And my gold is just gonna fill up because I'm not gonna upgrade any card because I never want to be a level 13. And it's kind of annoying. I really think they destroyed the shop with that, because at least for us, like Grand Challenge grinders, I'm sure that
the part that I really don't like is that they you used to be able to get 2 or 3 at a discount, sort of, you know, compared to what you get in gold when you donate them. You could buy the first few for less than what they cost now. So it feels like it only benefits people who were going to buy a lot of cards anyways at once,
Maybe.
which is people who have more gold and more gems. So like, why do those people need the help? Shouldn't you be reaching out to the people who are free to play and so on?
I will say it looks like it helps brand new players, because like it like the quests and thing will give like out free legendary, or not legendaries, epics, and before it was actually kind of a struggle for them to unlock epics. So maybe that helps.
See, the thing I don't understand is why not
I agree.
allow you to buy 3? Because if you allow the user to buy 3 legendaries, like still, it doesn't hurt the overall concept of the new shop. Like if you make the first legendary worth 40k gold like it is right now, and don't mess with anything else, you can still like keep the same concept and same thing they're trying to go for, but also like cater to those that have a lot of gold. Because like letting us buy 2 more legendaries only hurts them. It benefits every player.
So
I don't know. I feel like they're losing out on
legendary
money
pretty often.
Yeah.
Like, don't you? If you buy 40k gold every single time it comes up, which is like every other day, every third day, you get a lot of legendaries every week. Wouldn't you be able to keep your gold down, or do you think you're still outpacing that?
Well, I'm not gonna buy Lumberjack. I'm not gonna buy Sparky. I'm not gonna
Why
buy.
not? I mean, but if you're saying that you're gonna have 500k gold and you're worried about it hitting 1 million, you're not gonna be able to drop it. Then at this point, yeah, like, aren't you buying every legendary when you see it?
I mean, one day Lumberjack might be pretty good again.
Yeah, you're not getting the ones you want, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know.
I agree. I mean, it's frustrating for me too. I hate the epics more than the legendaries personally, because that's what I would always buy, like 5 to 10 epics if I'm like, I only have a few that I'm leveling. Like Executioner's not max, but that's really the only like epic that I care about that's not max right now. So when it comes up, I'm just trying to buy as many as possible. Now it's like I'm limited to 1 or 2 or 3.
Yeah, so I don't know. I didn't like the shop at all. My Goblin Barrel is never gonna be like, it's gonna take like another 2 months to max, where I was simply waiting for it to come up and shop again, buy 10, and then buy a few super magicals. But now I have to buy I have to max it out with super magicals. Like now that's what's gonna happen now. And I have to max out my princess through super magicals, because otherwise I'm gonna have to wait 6 months till I max it out. I'm going actually in my account right now to see how far I am from maxing, and like it hurts the people that were like big spenders but not too big, and we're like kind of in that like 3 to 4 level range for legendaries, because now they'll never have max legendaries.
Yeah, and that's how I feel. Like, that's the thing that kind of sucks, is like I'm just now at the point where my epics are pretty much entirely maxed. All my commons and rares except for Flying Machine are maxed. So I'm actually starting to accumulate a lot of gold. When I do have gems and play grand challenges, I start to get gold like pretty quickly. And the only reason I even have a level 3 Mega Knight is because of the old shop route. Oh, very nice. Is where I was able to just, mash and buy 2 every time I saw it. And now I feel like Bandit, that's sitting at like 1 of 4, is never going to get anywhere. Like there's no hope. So
you have a 1 of 4 Oh, this is on your mini, isn't it?
No, my main. Like my main, I've only gotten 3 bandits ever.
Wow.
And
Oh.
I mean, maybe if they come up in the store, I can buy them. But like, I had opted not to. I guess every time I saw it in the store. But now that like Mega Knight I'm happy with my Mega Knight, or my Princess is almost maxed, or whatever. And like,
That just
I'd
blows
like to
my
change
mind
my
that I have.
focus.
It just blows my mind that any card that I have is higher than yours. But Bandit's a weird case. I got like Bandit loves me for some reason. Lightning round, part 2 quests. What do you think of quests?
I think they're cool.
Let me look at them real quick. Actually,
They're actually they're pretty fun. Like I actually don't hate them, but it does feel weird that you get them very slowly, and progressing through the big chest is really slow, and I can't speed it up at all. So like my second chest was a super magical, super cool, right? But I had 500 quest points, and at like 20 a day, it's gonna take me like 3 weeks to complete this thing, and I can't like go any quicker. I just feel like I just have to sit here and watch it for like 3-4 weeks.
Also,
Here's an
some of
idea.
their quests are
Hey,
stupid. The one that's like use raging clone
Some
in
of the
your
quests
deck.
are.
It's like
I've got actually only good quests.
it's
so
like
far.
you're
I actually haven't gotten
promoting
any of the,
people to
like,
drop
play two of
trophies.
them.
I don't understand that.
There's a quest that says open these 3 free chests or something.
I actually like that. I thought that was a cool way to integrate free chests, into the new quest system by making it that there is a daily quest that's just like 3 free chests. That's cool. It's actually one of the worst quests because it only gives you 15 quest points.
Yeah, you get less quest points.
But
Here's an
OJ
idea.
was pointing out
What
How
that
do
if you
quest
just-
points work?
It goes towards that chest at the top.
Yeah.
How do you get a quest
whatever one
point?
Doing one of the quests.
Look at the quest; they give you quest points. Like there, it's in the.
Go play the game. Don't learn how to play from us. Go start a mini
Oh,
account.
I can max out my bowler and my expo.
What about this idea? Pay 5 gems for a new quest. You don't have to wait 24 hours. Or 10 gems or whatever it should cost. Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like
No strong opinions.
I feel like they made it worse, and they're like losing opportunities to make money as well. Like I don't see why not allowing your players to buy legendaries hurts you. If anything, that makes them more likely to spend money for either grand challenges or to buy gold.
I actually think the new shop is better for like most everybody, right? Like it's a really maybe not everyone, but like it's just sucky to like learn this weird scaling cost math thing. There's got to be a better way to do it than the old shop. But I think what they need is to put more trophy based tilting of the shop. So like I know and you know that if you're at 6,000 trophies, you need to see a legendary or epics like in that shop every single day because you're at 6,000 trophies. So if they could just put in things where like, oh, once you hit master 1, there's a legendary in there every single day, and that's like a reason for me to get up to a certain ladder, and then the shop becomes a little more useful because every single common and rare is completely worthless to you.
Well, at the very very least, they could take out cards that you already have maxed. Like that seems like a pretty simple change, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Because then they're not missing out on the same opportunities. And if you showed me Executioner in my shop every single day, you would get 3,000 gold from me or whatever every single day.
Right.
And that encourages me to play more and do grand challenges, and like I don't want to miss a day where I'm not dumping 3,000 gem or gold. Shop,
I guess then becomes the problem for them is like people are maxing out if you do that. I don't know.
Yeah, and they are, I guess, but like they're also doing it in exchange. Like, I don't think Supercell is going to care that me as an already level 13 would actually start getting to max out my legendaries if it meant that I had to play 5 grand challenges a day.
Maybe, yeah.
Like, isn't that, like, hey, great. You know what I mean? If I start spending $5 a day for 3 months in a row, they're getting more money out of me now than they were before. Because right now I don't really spend any money, because why? You know what I mean? Like, what?
Yeah.
That's true.
Lightning round part 3. Give me a 30-second summary. What do you think of touchdown mode, Rumham?
Quick roller coaster. When I first played it, I was like,
60 seconds is fine. You're okay.
Yeah,
You're okay.
like when I first started playing this, I bet you there's some more strategy that people aren't missing. And I did start to appreciate like the draft choice strategy. Some of the cards that are normally not good are like pretty good in touchdown mode. And that's interesting. But then once I sort of feel like I learned all the intro level stuff that you can learn, like basic 101 football strategy, I'm back to being frustrated with it because there's so little you can do to stop cards like Balloon and Golem and Hog Rider, and there's not enough.
Hog Rider is ridiculous, man.
To like do anything about it.
Especially hog freeze, hog lightning, hog tornado. There's some nasty combos out there with the fast card plus a reactive.
Freeze people haven't talked enough about in touchdown mode.
Freeze is
fucking
nuts.
ridiculous.
Yeah, freeze and lightning are really good because they just get it through.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Freeze is so overpowered. and touch them. I don't know. It was fun.
It's fun. I don't like that it's
I don't wanna
draft.
beat a dead horse.
I don't like that it's
Say
draft
that-
and it's 2v2.
I like that it's draft.
like it's draft.
I don't think you can.
It couldn't be constructed.
Yeah.
It'd be so
I
bad.
mean,
if
that's
it
true.
was constructed.
Okay, so I don't like that it's 2v2 and draft at the same time.
2v2
I
kind of
guess-
sucks. I'd like a 1v1.
I don't know.
I guess I don't mind it as 2v2 draft, but I just wish that there's only one choice guaranteed in your draft lineup that is 2 buildings. Like watch every touchdown game. There's a minimum choice where there's 2 buildings, right? But I wish there was more. There was like 2 of those, so that each team was guaranteed to have 2 buildings, because that would cut off a lot of the randomness I feel around, like, oh, here comes a golem, and it's like we have 1 building in both of our decks combined, and it's Tombstone, and like that's not enough, and we just can't stop this thing, and we lose. Like that.
There are definitely some times where there's definitely a few times where I've drawn a good teammate or been playing with my own teammate, and we just have a deck that's like,
Average.
I give up. I can't
You can't do
stop
anything,
this.
yeah.
You know.
I don't know. I didn't like it because it's not a skillful game mode. So
It also feels like it takes a while to accumulate chests sometimes when you need to get to the challenges when you need to get to 9 wins. It feels kind of hard if you're not working with a teammate. If you're just doing random teammates and trying to get to 9
and
wins.
it's also annoying. It's hard to do a teammate because if you're in a grand challenge, you can't do it. You have to lose it first.
So it's
Oh yeah, my grand challenge log right now is like
oh my god.
I
They
have, like,
need
2 back-to-back 2s because people wanted to play.
Yeah, I did that too, and I just lost on purpose. And then I got tweeted on Twitter.
One of my biggest quality of life frustrations is that you can't just cancel a challenge or something. Like if you go 0-2 and you're doing the 9-win touchdown challenge, I don't want to purposely lose. I don't want to keep playing because I'm never going to get to 9 wins when I'm 0-2. Let me just quit.
Yeah.
You know?
That'd be cool. But I mean, I guess you can just throw the game, right?
But then you're screwing over your teammate. That's happened to me
That's
like once or twice now. Not me being the screwer, but the screwee. Anyways, we'll save the in-depth touchdown mode for the next episode. Guys, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it on short notice.
Thanks, man.
Why don't you plug whatever you got going on? Luis, you got a new YouTube channel.
Yeah, I just started it. It's doing pretty well. Just broke like 1.6 thousand on my first video, so that's pretty nice.
Dude.
Yeah, I hope to start uploading on the daily, maybe like every other day or something. I'm working on a top 10 ladder push. I just filmed that I'm gonna put up like probably tomorrow, and then a few grand challenges. I hats off to people that like upload on the regular day basis. It's so tough, and people don't realize it. Like
It's so hard to
figured,
just keep up with it. Like, God,
Yeah.
I hate it. Like,
I saw Surgical's like raw footage 12 wins, and I was like, I could do that. I get 2 12s a day. I'll just hop on and like put my Gotham in, but then it's actually kind of hard work. Even if it's raw footage, it's kind of hard to like sit down and make sure that everything's all right and like render it. Uploading on a regular day basis, I think, is like as demanding as like almost a full-time job.
Yeah, it can be,
pretty tough.
Obviously, depending.
especially if it's like orange juice content.
Yeah. Oh, dude, that's why he only does like full time. Does one every like twice a week, maybe. Like it's so hard. He puts like 40 hours into those videos. It's absurd.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my YouTube channel. I also prefer raw footage. So the number one thing we got going is those Draft Royale tournaments, which has actually been great because the new cards are coming out every month. They're slotting really well into the Draft Royale format. Almost all of them are getting picked, which is pushing like bad trash cards out of it. And then the deck building is a lot more interesting and competitive. So go check out those tournaments on my channel. And yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, especially if you're a fan of draft, like I got to give you credit, Rumham. Nobody else in the community has pushed the draft format as well and as hard as you have. So yeah, and Twitch, right? Did you say Twitch?
Oh
Twitch
yeah,
is
well,
where
there's that
the
too.
Twitch is where the
Twitch, I
tournaments
think,
go
is
down.
even harder than YouTube. Like, because Twitch, I feel like you like absolutely have to be consistent to have a following, and like dedicating for that you have to be. I can't be putting out 40-minute streams because people will be like, but like
you could do what you could do what Rumham does a little bit and leverage your Twitch for your YouTube with raw footage sort of stuff.
oh, you
know?
just
Yeah.
use.
It doesn't work as well as you'd think.
Yeah.
What does, right?
I don't know. I don't really like to play on stream either for 2 reasons. First, I'm not gonna be playing my best decks because I'm not gonna be showing my best
Yeah.
decks to people. And two,
That's why I haven't
can't,
streamed.
Yeah, you run the risk of like, it's for me. I don't know how you feel about this, Colton, but I play so much worse on stream.
Yeah, I mean, if you're
Because
commentating or if you're reading chat, and especially
Yeah, you're reading.
especially if they
chat,
piss you off, you play way worse.
You're adding a whole another level of like mental, you know,
I don't know.
gymnastics to
I think
playing.
I have to start streaming, considering the fact that like Supercell just gave me like I'm talking right now in a full setup that was bought by Supercell and given to me to stream. So I think I'll probably start streaming like twice a week. But I don't know. I like YouTube a lot more at this point, and I like the fact that YouTube sort of I don't know. It allows you to mess up and edit and be okay with like, you know, you don't have to go home at. I know people have like PBX. She streams at 7 a.m. East Coast time every day. I don't have to worry about setting an alarm and like, oh, I have to go stream. Like, if I miss that day, then I can just put it off and do a YouTube video tomorrow. I don't know. Colton, how do you feel about YouTube versus streaming?
YouTube, I mean, I like YouTube because, I mean, not that I've done either a ton recently because of college, CCGS, and being
Burning your
either
hand.
sick or
third degree burns on your hand.
first and second, but yeah, I don't think I'll show that because it looks disgusting. You can't. A couple times I noticed I turn my hand around, but you can't tell unless it's close, and then you can really tell because it looks nasty. No, yeah, I've been like injured or sick like 3 times in the past month, and then CCGS and college. Yeah, so been busy, but
Kingscope coming up. I booked my
YouTube, good.
Nova just booked my plane ticket.
Yeah, I'm going to.
That's I'm looking forward to
Kings
that.
Cup.
You're going.
Yeah, I'll be at Kings Cup and I'll be at ESWC in Paris.
Watch
right.
all these guys on. You can see all these guys on CCGS NA, and follow us on Twitter for future Q&As and all sorts of good stuff.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us,
Yeah,
guys.
thanks for coming on, guys.
Thanks for
Take it
having me.
easy.
Peace.